Hello, everybody, and welcome to our course on how to get more patients or clients. And so we're excited to talk more about this specific sales strategy of giving it and then taking it back. So, Greg, tell us all about how you came up with this strategy and what it's all about.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, I just learned, through my sales mentors and coaches
Yeah.
a long time ago, which was you have to be able to apply pressure, but it's like an art. You have to be able to apply pressure and then pull back so that people are not like, man, that's a high pressure sales situation and they don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that comes back to your intent. If you're truly trying to help them, you do want to apply pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you do want to say, like, look, I've asked you all these questions, and you said your problem is this.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta help you make this decision. Like, if you don't make this decision now, you may never make it,
Right.
and you may have this problem for the rest of your life. So you want to be able to communicate in a way where you're saying, well, do you want to start now, and then maybe a silence. That's a form of pressure. Silence is pressure because now they're like, well, and then you take it back by maybe talking a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you apply more pressure. Ask another question. But the goal with giving it and then taking it back is to give kind of a flow of applying pressure, but it's subtle, gentle type pressure,
Yeah.
so that people can kind of digest the information you're giving them and feel okay with making a decision, and more importantly, feel okay with not making a decision. So if they feel like they still have to think about it, they still should feel like, you know what, Greg or Cameron's not going to hate me because I
Right.
didn't make this decision.
Right. They still feel in control of
Yeah,
the process, right? That you're not totally putting so much pressure that they feel like, whoa, I'm not in control here. He's
Yep.
just totally leading this conversation. It can't not be about them.
And
Right.
and you want to avoid at all costs. Like, it's never okay to do this where you make them feel like, wow, he really shifted from he was my friend in the beginning, and now all of a sudden when I'm saying no about buying something, it's like he doesn't even want to know me.
Right.
Never.
Right.
That's never okay to do that. And so make sure that when you're using these strategies, you're using it in a way that is helpful, makes people. The goal is you want to create a safe and comfortable sales environment, because if you can do that,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to have much more open negotiations and conversations
Right.
to get to the end goal. And that's what I think makes the difference between a good salesman and not a good salesman. It's like they're not able to create that environment of this is safe. We could safely have this conversation. And you know what? They don't. If I do this or not, they don't care. They're not going to hate me.
Right.
And they don't come up with a bad taste in their mouth.
That makes sense. For sure. So the other day we were talking about this very topic, and you gave me some examples of how you do it, how you talk about the price of something, and you give them that price,
Yeah.
and then you give them multiple price options, and then you kind of take it back. So
Yeah.
Give me an example of
Yeah.
how you do that.
So an example would be like, so you go, all right, Cameron. So we've got these three prices here.
Yeah.
I recommend you do the most expensive one, this one, but you don't have to do that one. You could totally do this one, or you can do kind of a smaller one, and the smaller is still very valuable. So right there, what I did was I put big emphasis on the large package, but then I went back and said, but it's okay, you can go to these other ones. So I'm making one attractive, but I'm not devaluing the other one.
Right.
I'm just allowing them to know, it's kind of a subtle communication thing where I'm letting them know, you are in control, not me.
Right.
I'm just giving you the options and I'm making suggestions, but you're
Right.
still in control here. So
Right. And I love that strategy of this is the one I recommend for you. For what your goals are, this I think would be the perfect solution. But you don't have to do that one.
Yeah.
Here's the value of each of those. And I think what you said there is really critical, that we don't devalue the other options. You don't want to make your low option seem worthless.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, they'll be like, well, if that's not worth anything, or these others worth anything
Yeah.
either, right? So each one has to have value. You'll still get this benefit out of this one and this benefit out of this one. But really, for what your goals are, I think this is the one for you.
yeah, this is the complete, total deal that you should be getting. And, in a perfect world, if you can afford this, and I'll actually use, if you can afford this one, this is the one I would do. If you can't, though, that's okay, because these other programs still solve this problem. It's just the only difference is, and I just find a unique thing that separates that program. Maybe
Right.
it's maybe it's the coaching or 15-minute one-on-one time, or maybe it's 1 hour this, or maybe it's an
Right.
an extra visit. But you don't want to devalue the rest of your programs, because they're gonna always be better off as long as you're doing a good job of doing one of the programs versus none.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And in the end, you definitely want to close that sale on one of those programs, right?
Yep.
So even if it's not the Cadillac, you want them to pick, that mid-range option
Yep.
maybe, and if you've devalued that, then they're not going to pick
Yeah,
anything.
then they
so.
don't pick anything, and
Right.
it's kind of embarrassing too, right? So like if someone's saying, here's a program and it's a little bit out of their budget, you don't want to like degrade anyone either.
Right,
Say like,
right.
well, we really want that package, but we can't afford that right now, and now they just kind of feel embarrassed, like, oh man, well, you've got this like big like disappointment of I can't do this. So that's where you have to just be really like, subtle and let
Right.
them know all the programs have value. If there's one that you would suggest, it'd be that one, and vice versa. If you truly don't think that they need
Right.
that super high level one, they just need like maybe a starter or something like that, then just do
Right.
that.
Well, and I've always been surprised by how if you sell that mid-range one well enough, how willing they are to be like, well, so what do I get in the higher package?
Yep.
And you're like, well, that would also give you X, Y, and Z, and they're like, well, I kind of want that too, and you're like, oh, that'd be great. I think
And the key is to no matter when you're upselling, downselling, or whatever, is to always actually ask the question. Like train yourself to ask, would you want to know more about that one? Are you even if they've already bought or agreed to something, and maybe you're filling paperwork out. That's usually when it happens. You start filling out paperwork, and they're thinking of their whole buying decision. Is this smart? Is my husband or wife be mad about this? And
Yeah.
then they're thinking about, I really like this package. How come I chose this one? I could probably afford this one. I wonder what that is. All these things are happening, and so
Right.
you want to be able to ask questions when once again following up with their question. What is in that package? Well, what is it that's standing out to you? What are you thinking? What do you like? Well, this has this.
I love it.
And kind of walk through that and go, well, I don't know. If there's a price difference that's not really massive, and you go, can you afford the extra $100 a month? I mean, if you can, we should do that one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can do that. If not, we can just stick to this one.
Mm-hmm.
And you give them the option closed, and they're like, well, you know what? Actually, let me do the more expensive one.
Yeah.
I've had that happen many, many, many times.
Right. Well, when they understand the value of it and you did a good job setting it up in the first place, they often want more value,
Yeah.
right? And so it's paying that extra little bit for more value
Yeah.
is no big deal at that point.
Well, the other thing too is when people are buying from you, they're actually feeling you out. So
Mhm.
sometimes they'll agree to
So
a
true.
small thing just to see how you react, and when they feel a little bit more comfortable, they're like, you know what, actually, maybe they can afford. I've actually had this happen before. One time I had a lady come in for training. She told me I cannot afford anything but one training session, $25. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll still help you out with your program, whatever. We'll still,
Right.
I don't want to lose the enthusiasm that I had from the whole presentation. So I sold her one, $25, right? Very next day she comes in, she has $2,400 check. Goes, you know what? I want to get you showed me the $2,400 one. I'd rather have that one. And I was
awesome.
like, wow, that's crazy. But that comes from sometimes people are just feeling you out. See,
Right.
like, am I going to are they going to treat me any different based on the level of programs I'm buying? Or,
Right.
Like,
Right.
does their demeanor change? Is there consistency in what they're saying?
Right. Well, and really they're testing, are you going to be that sleazy salesman,
Yeah.
right? Are you going to sell them on the product in a way that's, all about you making money, or are you going to sell them in a way that is all about meeting their needs wherever they're at
Yep.
in that continuum? And because you met their needs, they're willing to really do whatever it takes.
Yep.
And that's awesome. That's such a great thing. So an important strategy in making the sale is giving it and then taking it back, helping them to see the value in all of your options, presenting them with the one that you think is most valuable, and then giving them other options so they don't feel that heavy pressure
Yeah.
to do that. Super important to apply that pressure and ease it off.
Yep.
Apply it and ease it off so that they're in control of that sales process, but they're still very clear on what you think is the best option
Yep.
for them.
Yep.
So awesome stuff. Great tips. Join us on our next one. We're going to talk a little bit more about another strategy about asking a great question so that you can get people scheduled for their next appointment.